Right, y'all. What's going on? I am MC Till. Welcome to the Boom Bap Chat. Once again, we are very official here and precise with number 100 and something. With me is my co-host, iomos Rod. What's up, iomos?
I'm good, man. What's up with you, Till?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a good day, productive
Yes, sir.
day. I'm feeling good. Got another Ohio artist in the building tonight, and we're going to introduce him in just a moment. But speaking of Ohio, if y'all have not been to Everybody's Records, please do yourself a favor. Get to the record store. Come here to Cincinnati. Check out Everybody's Records. They have a great selection of vinyl, tape, CDs, books, all kinds of great stuff. Check them out online if you can't get here at everybody'srecords.com. And speaking of books, iomos, it's here. You're in Canada, so your copy's not there yet. It's on the way. It's
It's
on the way.
coming. It's coming.
Got it right. But look at that. The
Ooh,
Boom Bap Review, Volume 5. We're up to 5, y'all.
that's sweet.
I'm proud of our work, man. So if you don't have your copy, just search Boom Bap Review Volume 5 on Amazon. You can pick it up right now. You can also go to boombapreview.com. We've been having some issues with the site though. So if it like doesn't take you there, please be patient with us. We're working that out. So your safe bet is just go to Amazon, type in Boom Bap Review, and you can get all 5 volumes if you want, if you're a baller like that. And our
Absolutely.
guest tonight is actually in the book. So he made the book this year, and that's exciting. So we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. So yeah. Anything else, Almas? You representing anybody tonight?
What am I representing? Hey, Boom Bap Chat,
Boom Bap Chat,
Volume
man.
5.
Like
You
that's it.
said,
There you
yes,
go.
sir. All
That's it.
day. Yes,
That's it.
indeed. Yeah.
Cool. Let's get into it. Our guest tonight reigns, like I said, from the great state of Ohio. His most recent album, Happy Accident, is dope boom bap production meets dope lyrics meets Bob Ross. Yes, you heard that right. We're gonna get into that in just a moment. Um, Tonight we get to talk to an exceptional MC about his art, his latest album, and much more. Let's welcome to the Boom Bap Chat, the one and only Dirty Needles. Woo!
Needles.
Welcome, man. How you doing, Dirty Needles?
Doing really well, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for taking some time to chat with us.
No problem.
Cool. I want to start with your name because I feel like I read somewhere that you got your name from the Discovery Channel. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Okay. So this was back around like 2000, 2001. And back then, I used to write a lot of my rhymes in the bathroom. So while I'm in the bathroom writing, Discovery Channel was going on in the background. And it was this documentary about intravenous drug use and how if you share dirty needles, you can get infectious diseases. And they just kept talking about dirty needles, dirty needles, dirty
Mm.
needles. And I thought to myself, wow, that sounds like a really dope rap name. So I started trying to come up with everything that could rhyme with dirty needles. And it kind of just stuck, no pun intended.
That's dope. That's dope. And I also know that there's some fun that you have with that name. That you it's not just Dirty Needles, but there's some alternative needles. Like can you hip our crowd to some of those alternative names?
Oh yes. Shout out to my homegirl, Dope Girl Cooks on Instagram. Um, she's been like uber supportive from jump. I'm like her number one artist on Spotify for like 2 years straight. We have these random conversations where just recently, earlier today, um, she saw the post and said, "Hey, you should grow your beard out." And I said, "Nah, I don't like the scruffy look. I'll end up looking like one of the predators from To Catch a Predator, and then Chris Hansen to come into the house and ask me to take a seat. So to avoid all that, I just shaved. But anyway, I said, um, I don't I don't like to be itchy. I can't walk around being itchy needles. She's like, I'm gonna add that to the list. So we have scruffy needles, we have itchy needles, we have nerdy needles, we have cranky needles, crafty needles. Pretty much is just taking the word dirty out and putting any other word in front of needles. And it's kind of like the inside joke that spilled out into the world.
Yeah. That's cool. I like how it has like the name is taking on a life, of its own in a way. I like Nerdy Needles. What
Yeah.
was like the reason behind what inspired Nerdy Needles?
Well, I'm into a lot of anime. I used to write fan fiction. I'm heavy into video games. I always have the joke that my basement looks like a 17-year-old Asian kid lives here. Um, so yeah, that's what inspired the Nerdy Needles.
Sure, sure. That's dope. So you're in Cleveland, right? But
Yes.
not from Cleveland. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio.
So were you there for a good amount of time in your life, or did you move pretty early on?
I was there for the first, say, 29 years of
Oh,
my
okay.
existence. And
Okay.
then I
So
moved up to Cleveland in 2010.
okay. So the way in which you experienced hip hop was through Youngstown.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious, man. What was or is, if you're still connected, what is the scene, the hip hop scene like there? Kind of growing up and just what you know about it now.
Well, I could tell you more about the scene coming up than right now.
Sure.
So coming up, one of the biggest groups in the Youngstown area was this group by the name of South Pole, and the leader of the group was Kenny Ali. He went by Subcon back then, and everything else kind of sort of built around that. I got into hip hop around like 93, 94, respectively. So that's pretty much where my experience with it comes from. Uh, the first, I guess you could say, Ohio artists I heard that were put on the map, which is pretty much, I guess anyone could say, is Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yep, yep.
Um, in Youngstown, we used to claim them, even though they were like 90 minutes away. But it's like, hey, they're the sister city, so they're part of Youngstown too.
Were you a fan
Yeah,
of the music? Yeah, yeah,
yeah. At least first two albums. By the
yeah.
time Art of War came around, I was like, yeah,
Mm,
kind of. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
Everybody
sure.
can't do double albums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Double albums are delicate thing. Not
Mhm.
too many people can pull them off. That's for sure. The hip hop scene, like one of the questions that I like to ask a lot is, and I know iomos appreciates this, is like there's some hip hop scenes that have like not gatekeepers in like the sense of that we know them today, but almost like mentors. Like, were there people in Youngstown in the hip hop scene there that were kind of curating the scene, were helping artists be like, yeah, I actually kind of whack, man, you gotta go home and practice, or this is dope, or just any folks like that, like, and like almost like a mentor role.
Um, Not necessarily for me. It was more so along the lines of, I tell the story all the time how things were different back then in the 90s as opposed to how they are now. Back then, if you couldn't rhyme, you do not set foot at the lunch table,
Hmm.
you don't open your mouth, you just go off and do something else, because if they let you sit at the lunch table and a cipher pops off and you can't rap, they will let you know how bad you are.
Yeah,
They will stop you in the middle of the rap. Boo, you
sure.
suck, go home, fuck out of here. Like, it was brutal.
Mm. I feel like that would have been iomos. No, not getting booed, but booing the person.
I think the
Would
look
you
on
say
his
so,
face says
Io?
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, I booed a bunch of
Yeah,
motherfuckers in my day.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it again tomorrow.
Cool. So on your new album, I wanted to ask you about something. You have a song on there about Ninth Wonder. If I had the money to get a Ninth Wonder beat, I
Yeah.
love you like that, iomos.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, I love that title. I love how the beat, it sounds like a Ninth Wonder. It's like,
Hmm.
has that feeling. Um, but it just made me think about like producers. And are there producers that you really, really like that have inspired you through the years?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, Ninth Wonder. I think everybody's obligatory choice is Jay Dilla.
Yeah.
Um, also really rocked with DJ Premier,
Mm,
Warren G,
mm,
and DJ Quick.
okay. That's a great list right there. If
Yeah.
if you could pick, if you had the budget and had the relationship and you could pick one producer to do like your next album, if you did a next album, who would it be?
DJ Quick.
Oh yeah, why DJ Quick over, the other legends you mentioned?
Um, I think it would be different for me because everyone would expect, you to go premiere, the Boom Bap Legends or whatever. But I like the live orchestral instrumentation that DJ Quick incorporates into his production. And I love how he mixes and engineers where you listen to a project from him and it sounds crystal clear.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Do you have plans to make more music?
Yes.
Okay, cool, cool. Because I thought we'll get into it a little bit more as we talk about the album. But I thought I read somewhere that this next album might be your last album. But I'm glad to hear that it's not. So that's dope. That's dope. Um,
Yeah,
just to
you
think.
read correctly, but
Okay, I thought I saw that. So we'll get into that in a moment. But just thinking about hip hop right now, like there's just so much. I feel like back you mentioned like 94, 95, or
yeah.
early 90s. I feel like back then it was, most of what we heard was pretty dope because there wasn't just so it wasn't like so much now. Like now there's so much, but back then there wasn't as much, that was hitting airwaves on radio stations that we were, listening to or like, buying the tape or the CDs or whatever. So there just wasn't as much music back then. Now there's just so much music. And so I'm just curious to know, like, what's your sense of like, do you prefer the era that we're in now where like everybody and their mama can record and make music? Or did you like it? And you can, talk to your fans. Music is, can be very free if you want it to be versus back, in the 90s where that wasn't the case. Do you have a preference or any thoughts around, those two different eras?
I kind of prefer how things are now, only in the sense of you could you had more access to equipment that you just didn't have back then. Like back then, there wasn't too many people with home studios in their bedroom.
Right. Yep.
Guitar centers weren't popping up all over the place. You had to know somebody who owned a studio.
Right.
You had to know somebody who made beats. You had to book the time. Oh, and by the way, you had to find somewhere where you can buy ADAT tapes to store your creations.
Right.
There were all of these hurdles that you had to go through just to put together a record. Whereas now, all you have to do is you get Pro Tools up. I hit the microphone. You get Pro Tools. You can go get a nice XLR microphone. You could go into your room and just create.
Yeah.
That being said, I do miss the quality control.
Yeah. 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 That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
while everyone, I feel like, hey, if you want to pick up a microphone and rap, you're allowed to do that. But just because you're allowed to do something doesn't mean everyone should.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, that's
I agree
just
with
my
that.
2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you saying, Iomos?
No, I was just saying I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. And I would even say maybe everyone should be able to create, but not everyone needs to put money into marketing it and advertising it and have other people co-sign you, like
You're not wrong. That
I,
that's actually a more diplomatic way of putting it.
you know
And
what oh, go ahead, Almas.
no, I was saying even too, like if you wanna, if you said you if somebody said they want to do it and you really trying to take the time to master your craft, I don't have a problem with that. Like if you
Yeah.
just starting out and you putting stuff out and you just want people to like, and then every time you put something out, you can see the improvement. I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that. But if you just doing it just for the sake of doing it, just because you think you could put money in your pocket and, you know, get a bunch of likes and this, that, and the third, yeah, that's what's cluttering up to me, in my opinion, that's what's cluttering up the game. Not the game. I don't like the culture. I would say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cluttering it up, man.
Well, shout out to Marcus, who's always tapping into the show. He said got a lot of that kind of music out now. They should stick to their day job.
I agree.
Most of them don't have a day job.
Exactly.
We'll
Yeah.
just call it
You,
what it is.
you know
Yeah.
what I struggle with and what I've been thinking about lately. And real quick, also shout out to Sean Mason, who said 6.3 million rappers because of the internet and social media. Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
So what I struggle with is, you know, when I was younger and I was getting into hip hop music and loving the music, you know, there not a lot, but there were those, you know, that I heard talk about the music and you know, it's not music, it's hip hop's not music. You shouldn't be listening to that, you know, that type of stuff. You know, just kind of discounting it, not really listening to it, not understanding it, just saying it's, you know, it's garbage, whatever. And so now I'm listening to stuff that my son, my 8-year-old son, you know, wants to listen to. And I'm having those same thoughts like, oh man, this sounds like garbage, you know? But I don't want to be, I want to understand like why does he like this? You know,
Mhm.
like he likes his art, and I'm not trying to throw shade or knock this artist. There's this artist named Didi Osama. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
He's a young guy, 15 or 16 years old, very young. Lost his brother. His brother, I don't know if he died or got killed. I'm not sure what the case is, but they were in a group. So he's making all this music, and it almost sounds like the music doesn't sound mixed well. It sounds like the bass is like just it's too loud, but I think it's on purpose, you know, and like
Yeah.
the way he raps, like it almost sounds like he's, I don't know, not trying to rap, but he is. It just it's doesn't sound good to me, but I don't want I want to understand like what is it about this music that my
Yeah.
son is like, I really like this, you know?
Right.
And so I struggle to be someone that wants to understand it and also someone that's like, man, but I know, like, I know the hip hop that I've heard throughout my life, and I've heard, you know, Dirty Needles. Like, it sounds very, very different, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Said I believe the reason being is the youth are the ones who move the needle within the culture. I mean, whether we like it or not, when we were young, we were the ones moving the needle. You know, that's why, you know, when we were coming up, well, at least like I said, I'm 42. So when I first got into hip hop, you know, Tribe Called Quest just dropped Midnight Marauders. Wu-Tang Clan just first came out.
Yeah.
Nas Illmatic was 6 months away from coming out. You know, Biggie was a year out. So these were the guys who we gravitated towards out of the 88 golden era, you know, Big Daddy Kane and Rakim and all them. So that's who we gravitated towards.
Sure.
Now, the kids who were our age when we were getting into hip hop, you know, their guys are, you know, Lil Uzi Vert and you know, what's his name, Lil Bo, I think Yachty or whatnot. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, his most recent album is surprisingly good.
Is that the one that wasn't, he wasn't really rapping on it? Is
Yeah,
that the one? Yeah. Yeah. It was
yeah,
like almost like
that
a
was like
rock infused album.
yeah, that was like his version of Tyler the Creator's Igor. That's what I want to call it. Great value Igor, but it was good. I
Yeah. It was
liked
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
It was interesting. Yeah, I was because Questlove commented about it, how he liked it, and I was like, huh. So I listened to it. I was like, it wasn't really for me personally, but
yeah.
like it was different. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's nice music to throw on in the background, or you
sure,
know, you're riding around, you want something mellow, you pop that in.
yeah, yeah,
So I can understand why the kids now, like, you know, to them the music is fun, and they love the fact that, hey, with this, now us as old heads, we might look at it and scoff, but they look at it and say, hey, with this, I don't have to think too hard to do it.
yeah,
I just want to get a visceral reaction from the crowd. I just want them to turn up and be, lit with us.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Whereas me, I'm like, no, I sat here with this song for like a week trying to make sure I had every double entendre and
Right.
sentence flow into each other. I
Yeah.
did this whole verse where I rhymed every single word in the cadence and I didn't punch in once. And meanwhile, then you listen to their music and was like,
Yep.
yo, your engineer is doing you a disservice. I can tell you're punching in after every line. But that's what the kids like now.
Yeah, I guess so.
It is what it is.
Yeah. I just wish like I really try to listen, and what I guess what bothers me the most is like the messages, the word, like the actual content. It's like, when you have something of substance, I think it just goes further.
Yeah, and it lasts longer. It
Last long,
ages.
yeah.
It ages well,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think there's something like, but Aromas, I think about this. Like, is there something to like what like Nito's what you were talking about? Just like kind of almost, you didn't say this word, but almost like mindless entertainment. Is there something to that where it's like, we're all stressed out, got jobs and different things going on, stressed out, depression, all kinds of stuff. Is it good to just have some mindless entertainment sometimes?
I
What do y'all
believe
think?
I mean,
um oh,
yeah,
I'm
I'll let
sorry,
him.
Moss, go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say I believe everything should be a balance. Like, say motion pictures. It's cool to have Fast and the Furious, but it's also cool to have Oppenheimer. I
Mm,
believe two things can coexist at once.
Mhm.
But when you just drastically shift to the left or the right, to me, that's when, the issue come into play. Um, it's not necessarily the content with me because people like to point out, oh, the things that these kids are talking about now is crazy. I'm like, yo, I came up in the era where, niggas was talking about, slashing each other with box cutters and stomping you out in the
mm,
club and all that. So like violence in the music is nothing new. But
right.
the difference is back then there was balance. If you didn't want to listen to that, like I say, you could listen to Tribe. If you didn't want to listen to Tribe, you could listen to the West Coast version of them, the Nons.
Mm,
If you didn't want to listen to them, you wanted to listen to some hardcore G shit, you can listen to BG Knockout and Dre or whatever. Like there was balance where it seems like now, at least in the mainstream, I should
yeah.
say, there's not a whole lot of balance. In the underground, there's balance like a motherfucker.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Ayomas, were you about to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with what he said about balance. That's what I liked about the era that we had. You had you had music you could choose from, like whatever you
Yeah.
liked, whatever you prefer. Now it's just cookie cut. Like everybody sound the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like the music sound the same. Like I heard a comedian say you can use somebody's lyrics and put it to another song and it'll still fit because it's the same,
Yeah, same
like,
cadence and
yeah,
yeah.
same. It's the same. It's like cookie cut. But like back in the day, Tribe had their sound.
Yeah.
Gangstar had their own sound. Like when you heard, they had their own identity. You know what I'm saying? But now, the young youth are just listening to, this. And for me, like, I can't listen to mindless music. That's just me. But for young people, I can see why they gravitate toward that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see it from their perspective
Yeah.
instead of being this disgruntled grandpa. You know what I'm saying? The disgruntled grandpa.
Yeah.
That's some trash. But I'm trying to, like you said, Till, like you trying to figure out why is your son gravitating to the music? And that's what I'm trying to do with the youth. Like, what is it about these artists that you listen to? Like, what is it about them that's making you gravitate to them? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But yeah, I agree with what Dirty Needles was saying for sure. For sure. Yeah.
And not to mention the fact, I think a huge difference now between now and then, the reason why you had so much variety back then was because sounding like anybody else
Yeah,
was a no.
absolutely.
Like, no, you don't pick the same kind of beats that I rap over.
Right.
You don't use the same cadences.
Right.
Everything has to be you. And if it wasn't you and one of these rappers caught you out there lacking, you was gonna get beat down.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's not the case because everybody is, operating from, I want to say the same bowl. Said they're picking things out of the same bowl. They pick the same beats. They use the same cadences. I'm like, hell, a lot of times they use the same lyrics. They'll change one or two words. Say, oh, they're just paying homage. I'm like, nah, dog. You just bit his whole line.
Right.
I'm a flip soldier boy. My whole flow, bar for bar.
That's wild.
Man, it's crazy, man.
That's wild. If you're just tuning in, this is the Boom Bap Chat. Our guest tonight is Dirty Needles, and want to give a shout out to some of the folks that are chiming in. I love this comment. Marcus, man, he always has the best comments. While we're over here trying to be diplomatic and, listen to the young people and what they have to say, Marcus says, I'll be that disgruntled man. If the music is trash, I'll tell you it's trash.
Exactly. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, we trying to be all politically correct. You know what I'm saying? I need to break out the old iomos, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's some garbage, bro.
I also want to shout out Patrick Shade, Jimmy Ross, Scott Adams, Jesse Lee, Sean Mason also checking us out. Sean said real cultural hip hop is in the underground. I feel that the stuff that's outside of the mainstream, like you said, Dirty Needles, there's just so much diversity in the underground right now. There's so much hip hop and different perspectives. It's really cool. And the comment of the day, what was the artist that put out the album, like the rock album? Who was that? Lil Uzi Vert?
Uzi Vert, I believe so. That's what we were talking about earlier, or were we talking about Lil Boat?
Yeah. So Sean Mason says similar to the Andre 3000 flute playing album. True. But then here's the comment. And I want to get your thoughts on that. But here's the comment of the night from Jesse. Jesse said, please let this next album be Woodwind Needles.
That's funny.
So Woodwind Needles, are you going to come out with a flute album next?
And
try to top Andre 3000. What do you think? Did you listen to that album?
Yes, I did actually.
What did you think?
Okay. Off top, the only disappointment I had is after not hearing from him on a whole album since like 2006 when Idlewild came out, I was interested in hearing him rhyme.
Sure.
I can't tell him how to feel about the state of hip hop. If he feels that as a 48-year-old man, there's nothing that he can talk about, that's him. I respectfully disagree. I believe there's more for you to talk about, especially as a 48-year-old man with grays all in your hair and in your beard. You have experiences that you can talk about that the youth will look towards because you're you.
Yeah.
As far as the album is concerned, I actually like the album. I'll put it like this. If you're suffering from insomnia and you need to go to sleep really quick, you throw that on. It is so tranquil. It is so mellow. It will have you drifting off into dreamland just like that.
I don't mind the album. I got no beef with the album. I mean, I listened to some of it. I was like, this isn't really up my aisle,
Don't listen to it while driving.
Yeah. So I have no beef with that. I make the music you want to make. You want to make a flute album, no harm in that. I can't really understand the comments he's made lately. Like, I can understand if he says, I don't feel inspired to write about anything going on in my life. That okay. But like you said, as you get older, you have more experiences, you have more wisdom, you have more to share with the world. And it's
absolutely.
I mean, Nas is putting out albums there's tons of artists that are older putting out albums that are
Mhm.
relevant and people
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah, he put out like 6 albums within like a 2-3 year span. So
Right,
don't
yeah,
tell me there's
exactly.
nothing to rap about.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's
Exactly.
plenty. There's always plenty to rap about. So I just didn't understand those comments because it sounded like he was saying like he was almost saying that you know rap is kind of you know a young man's sport and we really shouldn't be rapping as we get older. And it's just like I don't. Okay,
But you
I
know what?
disagree too. But
Yeah, I disagree.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I think he's afraid. I think he's afraid because the anticipation, the hype is built up so high for him. Think about it. People were throwing him in their top 5, and he never dropped a solo record unless you want to count the Love Blow. I think he's afraid if he puts out a rap album, it's not going to live up to the culture's expectations of what they had for it in their mind for the better part of 15 years. So to avoid that, I'll just go over here and do this. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know this man from a can of paint at Lowe's, but that's just how it came across to me.
that's interesting. That could be the thought I had was he simply is just like just it's just not coming. Lyrics aren't coming. Writer's block, whatever, and he's just inspired by other music and he just wanted to try you know do this flute thing so but who
Yeah,
knows
that could be it. I mean, that could be it too. I
yeah
mean, like unless we actually get him for a conversation, unless we actually get him to sit down for a conversation, we'll never know. I mean,
yeah
my theory was I think it was just a matter of fear.
yeah
And
yeah
if I
could
was in
be
his position, I won't lie, I'd probably be afraid too. And I'm not saying that as a knock against them or, oh, you're a coward. It was like, no, it's just unless you're in those shoes
yeah
and you have that immense pressure, you will never understand what that's like.
oh yeah for sure well speaking of one of the things I wanted to ask you about you know you talked about Andre 3000 having that long gap before he you know put out some music
Mm-hmm.
you know, you had some gaps where you kind of hung up the mic for a minute, got kind of I don't know, I won't say the wrong word, disgusted or frustrated maybe with
Yeah.
hip hop. Can you speak to that? Like you were doing it for a minute and then you're like, nah, I'm gonna step away from it. What were some of the frustrations or the challenges that you were facing back then when you were like, not right now?
Well, the first time around, I stopped in like 2007. And mainly during that time, it was a lot of things going on in my personal life that led to it. But on the professional level, which I'm willing to share on here, I think it was the turn of, I guess, where hip hop was going. And
Mm,
I'll be 100% honest. I had my hater hat on tight in like 2006, 2007. Things started going towards the South. And I was like, yo, man, this shit
mm,
ain't real hip hop. This isn't, this doesn't give me the warm butterflies in my stomach.
mm,
How come they don't rap like Nas? How come they don't rap like Pharoah Monch? Because they don't want to. If they wanted to, they would. But the
right.
music, at least I can look back at it now and say the music is just as good, maybe not lyrically, but in their own way, it was dope.
Mm,
And once I got out of the mind frame of, okay, everything doesn't have to sound like Tribe, everything doesn't have to sound like Nas, everything doesn't have to sound like Prime Eminem from 2002. Once I got past that, I was able to appreciate where music went more. And I came out of my funk or my little shell and decided, you know what, I'm gonna throw my hat back in the ring again and just create, and whatever happens happens. And
yeah.
another reason why I walked away is because I think this is something everyone can relate to. You're grinding so hard to get a deal, and you feel you get so close, and then the
Mm,
rug gets snatched out from underneath you, and the frustrations of not being able to get signed. And then you look in the mirror and you question your self worth because you tie your you tie your whole self worth behind, hey, I'm a rapper, I'm dope, but I can't get signed, so something must be wrong with me.
Mm.
I'm like, and then it takes a psychological turn for the worse where you're questioning yourself every step of the way. And it's not a fun place to be in. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of artists can relate to that.
Yeah.
So it's worth it sometimes to just, step away. And if you really love it, like I do, said you'll come back in
Yeah.
one way, shape, or another.
Do you feel like that's something that you've grown past, or is that something that still is like, a challenge?
Oh no, I've grown past that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, now like I said, I create for completely different reasons. Before it was okay, I have to get signed to show the world, I'm the best MC, and
Mm.
these other rappers can't even hold my jock strap. I have to prove this to them. And having that sort of ego almost killed me. So now, yeah, literally, when you tie your whole self-worth into, being the best rapper, and then someone comes along who's better than you, it shatters your entire world.
Mm.
But once I got past that and realized, okay, I have no desire to be the greatest of all time. I'm like, y'all can have that shit. I just want to create.
Yeah.
And once I got to that frame of mind, everything else became easier.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, there
So
was
this
still struggles though, but
Oh, sure,
that's
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great, man. So
That's dope.
yeah, that is really. Were you gonna say something else,
No, I
iomos?
said that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope. Yeah.
yeah. So this new album that you have, Happy Accident.
Yes, the new
I,
album. Yes.
what was the thought behind maybe this was gonna be it again, like your final album?
Um, yeah, well, the reason why I was toying around with this being the final album as an independent artist is hard putting so much time, effort, and money into your craft just to put it out there and for it to be here today, gone 7 minutes later.
Right.
And my last project, the Loot Box, which I feel was like heavily slept on and just as good as Happy Accidents, said I put it out, and I remember on Bandcamp, I put it out and only 2 people bought it.
Mm.
I said the streams were looking kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like, okay, here's this piece of work that I put my time, blood, sweat, and tears, and money into to get all this together to make sure that it's polished and I can present it to the world. And folks just kind of looked at it and was like,
Mm.
whatever. And at that point, I said, I'm like, yo, I don't know how much longer I can do this shit. I'm like,
Mm.
man, how many times am I gonna, put everything into an album and then, I'm in the red.
Yeah.
And yeah, with this one, it was gonna be the swan song, but I didn't tell anybody. I'm like, I think if you listen to the record, especially when you get towards the end, you can sort of hear a finality.
Mm.
Like, okay, this might be it. So I did the album I wanted to do. I put everything into it. I didn't have a deadline hanging over me. I wasn't worried about who was going to receive it well and who wasn't. To me, I'm like, this is my swan song. I'm Audi 5000.
Mm.
And then I put it out. And I'll put it like this. The streams that I've gotten on this album already surpassed the last album that was out for 2 years. I
Mm.
surpassed that within almost 2 months, which took 2 years on the last one. Said I've sold more through iTunes and Bandcamp than I did with the last one or the one previous.
Mm.
The fact that everybody picked up the record, the video is doing well. You know, I'm on here with y'all, which is something I didn't think was possible. So all of these things are happening for me. And I'm like, wow, maybe this is a sign that I should just trudge on a little further.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to say, you know, this is like my 5th project. So it's like, hey, I guess 5th time's the charm.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And it builds, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
it can definitely build, you know, over time. I remember reading something about, I don't remember the exact details, but it was just this chart of like, don't look at the 2 sales that you had.
Yeah.
Look at the 20 sales you have next time, and don't look at the, you know, the 3 people that came to the show. Look at the 10 people that will come to the show when you do it next time. So it's like always like building, growing, even if it's
Absolutely.
slow and steady, you know,
Yeah,
which I think is
Facts.
a dope way to look at it, you know.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
super dope. So Bob Ross, let's bring Bob Ross into the picture.
All
For
right.
those that don't know, Bob Ross was the iconic artist that was on, like, I think PBS. I
Yes.
think it was. Had the hair
Yeah. Yeah.
and
The
was
fro.
they had the fro, did the paintings, and was just like this like gentle spoken, you know, man.
Yeah.
And he plays a pretty prominent role on your album.
Yes. Yes, he
How did
does.
that tell the viewers about that and how that came about?
All right. So um I was trying to think of a theme or a concept for the album. And I had a hard time because whenever I'm starting a project, I need a theme. And then I can go into a direction. I don't like just doing random songs and putting it together and say, hey, here's an album. No, it has to be a theme that ties together.
Dope.
So I would often have The Joy of Painting playing on YouTube as background noise, or when I just want to relax reading, or if I'm not doing anything, I'm just watching TV and Bob Ross is there, and you know, he has this soft, tranquil voice. And as I'm watching the episodes and I'm getting hit with the quotes, like he had affirmations of life that anyone could
Yeah.
apply right now. And once I saw that, I said, yo, this is it. This is the thing. I'm going to tie it around Bob Ross and everything I learned from watching his show. And I hit Reese with the idea, and he was like, yo, that's dope. I think I got a few things for you.
Mm.
And the first thing he did before we even came up with a song, I had the title. I'm like, we're gonna call it Happy Accidents. And he hit me up with the album cover like a few hours later.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, really. He's like,
That's
hey, this
cool.
is the album cover.
Yeah.
I was like, bruh. So I had the album cover and the title before I wrote a single lyric, a single song title, anything.
It's such a, if y'all don't know the album cover, go find it. Go to the Bandcamp actually and buy it,
Yes.
because that's how we try to support artists. It's called Happy Accident by Dirty Needles.
Mm-hmm.
All that is spelled regularly.
Yes.
Um, but the album cover is brilliant. It's got Bob Ross on the cover. That's Bob Ross, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's got Bob Ross on the cover, but it's got like the Griselda censored of the eyes, which I think is great. I love that. Um, yeah, dope, dope. And then it's got the little sticker. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a sticker, but it's supposed to be a sticker
Yeah.
image with Bob Ross. So yeah, dope album cover. Yeah, you mentioned Reese. So this album, there's really 3 MVPs of this album. Obviously, you on the mic. The artist who did Reese do the cover?
Yes, Reese did the
Okay.
cover.
Yeah. And so I guess two MVPs.
Oh no,
Well,
there's
3.
3.
Bob Ross. Bob Ross is the 3rd MVP.
Oh, actually, I would
Yeah.
say 4.
4.
The 4th MVP is a guy by the name of James Drew. He mixed and mastered the entire project.
He did good.
Yeah, we recorded the entire thing in my basement. So yeah, he's the fourth MVP.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Yeah, he did
sounds
a good
good
one.
just because of him.
Yeah. It's a nice mix. And on production was Reese Tanaka,
Yes.
who do you know other artists that he's worked with that our audience might know?
Um, I know he's worked with Cellar Dwellers, and I think he's worked with
Okay.
RJ Payne before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But if you don't know Reese Tanaka, get to know him through this Dirty Needles album.
Yes.
Because he's got some great beats. I mean, I was really feel like a lot, we got flute albums, we got other experimental albums going on. We got hip hoppers that want to like experiment, which is great. Experiment,
Yeah.
make the art that you feel inspired to make. Oh, I love it. But the music, I love, man. I love that boom bap sound. And like
Yeah, me
this
too,
album,
man. That's the
yeah,
heartbeat, bro.
Yeah.
this album has that boom bap sound to it, and you
Nice,
have that
nice.
good cadence that works well with that sound. So props to you, the mixer, the engineer, Reese, Bob Ross, rest in peace. It's a really good
Yeah.
album, so make sure y'all check it out. It's called Happy Accident. You can find it on the Bandcamp. Just search Dirty Needles, it'll come up, and you can buy that joint. And I was very excited to know you sent me a message about the fact that you are planning a limited podcast series
Yes.
to talk about the album specifically. Is that right?
Yes.
That is a dope idea. Can you
That is.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, the name of the podcast, well, at least it's tentative. It's called Needle in a Haystack Podcast. And I'm going to go into detail about each song on the record. I might have Reese come on for a couple episodes to give insight, from his end. And yeah. And honestly, big up to Big Stowe, because that was his idea. He puts out ideas on Twitter all the time about, how you can, promote your project past just 1 week. And, you need to embrace content. Don't run away from it. And he put that out there. And I know a lot of people gave him pushback. I was not one of those people. I say, yo, that's a dope idea.
Yeah.
So I went and invested in myself. I went and grabbed the podcast mic. I got the boom arm. I got the camera you're looking at right now.
Dope.
I was like, no, we're going to get this popping.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's super dope, man. Super dope.
Shout out to Stowe, man.
Yeah. That is a great idea. I know Open Mike Eagle. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his podcast, the What Had Happened Was podcast. He
never heard his podcast, but I know of my Open Mike Eagle.
Yeah, so he does this probably my favorite podcast ever. It's called What Had Happened Was. And he sits down with one guest for like, I don't know, 7-8 sessions. And that's the whole season of that podcast. So he's like, I think he's doing Questlove now. He did LP. He did Prince Paul. Can't remember who else he did. But it's dope because they get really deep into, the artist, because they're talking for so many sessions. And then there was another podcast that like talked about like classic albums like Illmatic and different things, which made me think, it would be really dope to do a podcast where you just talk about one album for several shows. So when you sent that message to me, I was like, yes, this is so dope. I can't wait to check this out. So I'm excited that you're doing that, and definitely be spreading it around, helping promote it for sure.
No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what's up.
iomos, anything else you want to ask about or jump into before we celebrate some dope hip hop together?
No, I'm good, man. This is a great conversation. Oh no, I want to know. Yeah, I do have a question for both of you guys. Like, how do y'all feel about the D1 situation? Are y'all familiar with D1?
The Christian rapper.
I'm interested. Like, what do y'all think about that whole?
Can you just say a few words about it so that our listeners know what the issue is?
D1 is a MC or a rapper who's a believer. He's a Christian. He was a middle school teacher. And now he's a professor at a university. I forget what university he's at, but it's somewhere in Boston. And he was on Sway in the morning, and he basically made comments about like the music that promotes the death of death. He called it death and murder music.
Yeah.
He basically called out Jim Jones, called out Rick Ross, and he called out Meek Mills.
Mm.
And basically he was saying, how can Meek Mills, Meek Mills was saying that he is the face of prison reform. So he's like, how can you be the face of prison reform when your music is reflecting violence and, murder
Yeah.
toward our people? So Jim Jones and Rick Ross kind of, just aimed at him. It was like, Rick Ross called him a basket head because of how his dreads is. And then Jim Jones was like, man, you need to watch what you're saying because I got family members that'll see you out and, they'll get with you. But he said he got on a horn with Meek Mill and they was able to have a conversation about it. And now he's into it with Joe Budden. Because Joe Budden was like, let him find out like the other rappers when he get shot or whatever. So now they having a back and forth. So yeah, I want to know what y'all think about the D1 situation. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or directed to Dirty Needles. Like, what you think about all of that?
Yeah.
Well, I believe multiple things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I believe D1 isn't necessarily wrong, although I feel his aim is misguided, where you're picking artists in particular who don't really move the needle in the culture like that anymore. I'm like, let's be honest, they're more so legacy artists at this point. I also believe that Joe Budden isn't necessarily wrong, where, look, you can have the road to hell is paved with great intentions. You can have the purest of intentions, but if somebody thinks you're trying to steal food from their plate, you're trying to stop them from eating, they're going to come and see you about that. Because in their mind, they're saying, well, why do you have my name in your mouth? All these rappers, and you just chose to single out me. Why? I think something else I want to say, and I think there's a bit of a disingenuity with it when he talks about the music. I think you're going at the wrong people. Said the labels are what push the music, and the consumer buys the music. So you're gonna look at me with a straight face and say, if Meek Mill and Rick Ross just turn into Chuck D and Flavor Flav tomorrow, that everyone is gonna go and buy the record? So, no, that's not what they go to them for. And Kendrick Lamar had a line on To Pimp a Butterfly where he said, people miss rapping. If that's the case, then Killer Mike will be platinum. If folks really wanted positive music, I said you would have artists like Lecrae and D1, and I'm not really into the whole Christian music because a lot of them come off pretentious and holier than thou and think they're better than you because they sought out spiritual enlightenment and somehow you're just hellbound. And I don't really care for people like that. That's just me. But on the topic, if people actually wanted that kind of music, then these artists would be number one. They would be outselling Drake by tenfold. But unfortunately, that's not what the people want. So you might want to look at the record labels first and foremost. And second, you might want to take a look at the culture itself and say, why is it you identify with only this? With all these things you can encompass, and I'm going to take it there, with all of these things you can encompass as Black culture, why is it you only gravitate towards sex, drugs, and violence when we're not all one monolith, when we're much more than what's being plastered on your TV screens now? So I think that's the more important question, as opposed to hey, Meek Mill, how come you still rap about this, that, and the third? And you say you're the face of prison reform. I think the mark was missed, but then again, he's not a dumb dude.
Yeah, he definitely not
There's a
dumb,
method
dude.
to his madness, and I'm
Sure.
pretty sure
Yeah.
he thought about all of this before he even opened his mouth to speak in the first
Yeah,
place.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
I just wish people would have more deeper conversations than just surface level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that would be. I think that's where I would kind of land.
yeah,
Like
me too.
how you call out people, like invite
Right,
them in,
exactly.
like what I'm trying to do with my son. I'm trying to understand him. Like if
Mm-hmm.
D1 was like, hey, I would like to get Meek Mill on a show and have a conversation because
Yeah,
I I'm really having a hard time with some of the things I hear him rap about versus some of the things he's doing, with the prison reform. Let's have a conversation. And then you can have a conversation. You have a nice spirited debate even if you want to, but
right,
you can
right.
do it in a way that brings that person in. You don't have all this nonsense, internet beef, going back.
Exactly,
Right. It's
Oh,
exactly.
unnecessary.
and just to add in, what Joe Button said, yes, that's an extreme overreaction. I said you
Mm.
don't shoot somebody just because they criticize
Yeah.
your music. But that being said, unfortunately, you can't tell someone how to respond to what they perceive as disrespect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true, true, true.
that is true.
And
It's
my
sad
thing
though, because
is,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead,
I'll start.
Almas.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just saying it's sad because these altercations sometimes lead to death, which is just
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
facts,
know, it's
facts.
just like use words, argue it out,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
use thoughts
Yeah,
and the
like
power.
your rappers or even former rappers, you
Yeah, right.
specialize in words.
Exactly.
Use
Right,
Exactly.
them.
right,
Yeah.
right. And that's
So,
that's my thing too. Like I think it's opportunistic. It appears it don't seem genuine to me.
mm,
Yeah, I
It
agree.
seems opportunistic, like he's doing that to like build his brand. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, and he's like the only one that's like vocal, like really vocal about it. So that's like a lane that's not filled. You know what I mean? So I feel like he's filling that lane. It's not really authentic to me. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
come off as authentic. And my thing is like, let them do what they do. You do like, I mean, to Rick Ross's point, he's like, man, just do your art. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Just do what you do. Like you ain't got to call nobody out. Just do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Try to build your brand and get your likes or whatever. So that's yeah, just that's what I think.
yeah.
I
Talk
mean,
about it through your music. If you wanna,
yeah.
Yeah.
And from
talk
what I
about it, talk about
gather,
it through your music.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah, that's me. That's me.
yeah, and for what I gather, it's not the first time that he's done that. I think someone said like years ago he called out Lil Wayne and I think what Cuddy and other people or whatnot. So it's not the first time he's done it.
Yeah, yeah,
When you listen to him, like I believe his heart is in the right place. It's
yeah.
just I
True,
believe
true.
you're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That's a good way to
Definitely,
put it.
definitely, definitely. Well, thank y'all for indulging me, man. I've been having these conversations with people that I know, and we've been talking about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's you got some people that's like riding with him. They feel like he's doing the right thing, and then you got other people saying what we saying, like your approach, bro. You
Yeah.
could have been a better approach.
Sure.
Yeah.
How you went about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thanks for bringing it up, man.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, if you tuned in, this is the Boom Bap Chat with Dirty Needles tonight. We talked about his album. Make sure if you have not yet, go get it. Go check it out. It's called Happy Accident. You can find it just about anywhere. But
Yes.
go to the Bandcamp, Dirty Needles Bandcamp,
Please.
and buy that sucker. All right. I would like to celebrate some hip hop with you with this little game we like to play called One Word, where I will show you an album cover and then you can respond to it using one word or less.
Okay.
All right, let's see if you can do it. Okay, we got 7 albums. We got a lot of albums tonight to go through because we got some good ones here. We got a good diversity of joints too. All right, let's start. Let's start at home here. This is "Creeping on a Come Up" by Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Innovative.
Ah, Innovative with the flow that they had.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was dope. Do you
They
remember?
birthed a lot of babies from that record. Rapper
Yeah,
babies.
yeah, for sure. And shout out to Project Blow. I know there's Micah 9 and others aren't coming to me at the moment, but I know they had I feel like I've read that Bone was influenced by them because they had kind of that similar flow. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Do you remember when this came out? Like what it was like in Youngstown when this album came out?
Yeah, that the bootleg was all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had the bootleg copy of the record. I mean, don't sue me, Bone. I was in 8th grade. I didn't have a real job at the time.
I think you're good.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think the statute of limitation is
I was
passed.
just about to say that. Statute of limitations been passed. You all good, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. It's been 30 years, man. Let it go.
All right. A much different album here. This is Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar.
Classic.
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 Is it so I assume this is your favorite Kendrick Lamar album?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I always put it like this. It's not the best Kendrick Lamar album, but it's my favorite, the one that I go back to like all the time and I listen from beginning to end.
Okay. What would you say is his best, like analytically speaking?
To Pimp a Butterfly.
Okay, yeah. That's up there. All right, and Marcus said classic as well. Although he might have been responding to Bone, I'm not sure. But shout out to you, Marcus. All right, next album. Oh, I'm so glad we're gonna be highlighting this album tonight. This is Electric Circus by Common.
Oh wow.
Misunderstood.
All right, tell us more. Why misunderstood? What are people misunderstanding about this album?
I think a lot of people who trash it, I don't think they really heard it. I think they go off of what everyone told them to think about that record because Common didn't drop off lyrically on that record. He was still rapping the same way he was rapping on Like Water for Chocolate. Dilla gave him some very, out of this world production that he handled that most artists couldn't. And I believe he was 10 years ahead of the curve with that record. If that album came out in 2012 instead of 2002, I think it would be received a lot better than what it was.
I agree. It was not what Common fans were expecting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially coming off of Like Water for Chocolate. So I can understand why some people were turned off, but
yes,
he was rapping his ass off on that record.
Yeah, I think this is a good. The way I always talk about this album, I don't think it's a great album in the Common catalog.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's a really good album, and I think that's how great Common's catalog is. That his weaker albums are really good albums to me. So that's just my take on it. But I agree. I think this album is much better than what people what people say. I like this album. So. All right. Next one. I'm also glad we're talking about this album. I don't know if we'll get as many people to agree with us on this one, but we'll see. And I lost the insert, so I had to go to the actual disc. This is Nostradamus by Nas.
Underrated.
Why underrated? Why is this album misunderstood and underrated?
Okay. Now, I agree with the sentiment of everyone who might say, well, Needles, compared to his first 3 albums, that's a precipitous drop off. You're not necessarily wrong, but in its own right, Nostradamus is not a bad album. Considering the shit that came after Godson, Nostradamus is not bad by no stretch of the imagination. Now, are there some things on Nostradamus that I would get rid of? Yes, you're a big girl now. Get that shit the fuck up out of here.
I kind of like that song.
Nah, I didn't care for that one.
You don't like that one?
Yeah. The New World song where he did the total sample. Get
I
that
like
the
that
fuck
song
up out of
too.
there.
You don't like that one? Dang, I like that
I
one
don't
too.
think I think he kind of took his foot off the gas lyrically with that record. It just seems like he phoned that one in. But on its own merit, Nostradamus is not a bad album. People talk about Nostradamus like it's Nasir. Like, it is not by no stretch of the imagination.
What's his? Was it Last Words? The one where he was like painting the picture of like being in
Yes.
a jail cell.
Yes.
That one was that is a dope concept.
Yeah. And
One
the
of his
song,
dopest.
yeah, and Project Window and the
Yeah,
song he
that's
had with
dope.
Mobb Deep, Family, that shit to the beat. And then how him, Prodigy, and Have just came in and destroyed that shit. It's like, dude, you can't tell me that album was whack. I'm sorry.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the beat on Life We Chose because they had like some like a stutter with the snare, which was just
Yeah.
weird and it just felt like uncalled for. But I love how he's rhyming on that one. And the joint after that, Nostradamus, I love that sample. I love how he's flowing on
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I rocked with Some of Us Have Angels. Like, that shit was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
smooth. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot to like for that. iomos, did you ever write? Did you write about that album?
I haven't finished it. I need to finish. I
Okay, all
gotta
right.
reach out to him because my I gotta reach out to Steve, man. Cause
Okay.
my father-in-law passed away and I had
Mm,
to
Oh,
I gotta and
oh,
that kind of
condolences, man.
I gotta reach out to him and finish it, man. But
yeah,
I'm
Sorry for
actually
your
writing
loss.
about thanks, bro. I'm actually writing about Nostradamus.
yeah.
I got a friend of ours named Steve. He's a professor at a university, do creative writing, and he's writing a book, and I'm writing about the Nostradamus album. Yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta finish that.
I got a piece in there
Yeah,
about or hopefully we'll have a piece in there about Streets Disciple, which
yeah, no doubt.
I think is one of another
That should
slept
have
on
been
Nas
one
album.
disc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I love that album. Okay, we got three more to get through.
All right.
Next one up by a legendary group, one of the greatest groups, maybe the greatest group of all time. Could be, it's arguable. This is The Tipping Point by The Roots.
One word, huh?
One word. Can he do it? We might have stumped him, iomos.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Might have stumped
He
him.
like, nah, he like, not me.
Um, Lyrical. I'm gonna say this. The reason being, and I know a lot of people did not really rock with this album, but I think this is a precursor of the Black Thought that we have now. Um, because a lot of folks don't know the origins behind this record. I only know because Questlove wrote about it.
Right.
And he said the reason why it was set up the way it was because Black Thought's first album was actually supposed to come out in like 98, 99 called Masterpiece Theater.
Right.
But
yeah, I
it got,
remember that.
yeah, but it ended up getting shelved. So to make up for that, a lot of the intricacies that the Roots would have normally put into a record, if you notice with this, it's more boom bap, straightforward. It doesn't sound like you went to a Hamilton play. It's just Black Thought rapping. Other people jump on rapping. I think this is the least pretentious Roots album ever, and I think that's why I fucked with it so much. It was like 10 tracks straight to the point.
All right.
That joint where Black Thought is rapping as Cool G Rap.
Oh, bro.
Who else? And Big Daddy Kane, I think it was.
Yeah, he
Yes.
snapped.
Man, that is amazing.
Yeah,
That's one of the great. I'll go out and say it. That was one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time because he sounds just like him. Cadence.
Yes.
It's amazing. So,
and then the first single off of there, Don't Say Nothing.
Don't Say Nothing. Yeah.
Yes. How he did that hook where most people, if they don't know the words to the song, go, and I'm like, yo, that is.
Yes,
and then he ripped all three verses too.
Yeah. And the first sample, I think the first beat on there has the maybe not the first beat.
Everybody is a star.
Yeah, not
I think
that. That's dope too.
Slide in the Family Stone.
But the joint where they sampled the same sample for Ego Tripping on Balloon Mind State by De La Soul. I forget which song that is on
Oh,
there.
I know which
but
one you're talking about.
That one's dope.
Yeah.
That one's dope. All right. We got two more. This is Food by MF Doom.
Delicious.
All caps. Oh, you knew that one quick. Delicious.
Delicious.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. MF Doom, rest in peace, man.
Yes. Rest in peace,
So
Doom.
Zev Love X, man.
Yeah. A legend.
Yeah.
All right.
To him late.
Hey, it's always the right time to.
As long as you got down to him, that's all
right.
that matter.
All right. The last one. It might just be the greatest album of all time. It might be. This is Midnight Marauders by A Tribe Called Quest. Take your time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
To me, that's the best Tribe Called Quest album. I know a lot of people will probably fight me and say Low End Theory, and Low End Theory is dope. I got Low End Theory as number 2. Yeah, I know. I know. Some people are like, what's number 2? I was like, I said it. I stand on it. Midnight Marauders, to me, is the greatest Tribe Called Quest album.
I think I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people agree with that.
That's the one I go to the most.
Yeah. And not to mention, I don't
keep going back to that.
a single song on there.
Yeah,
whereas
absolutely.
Low End Theory, I skip Sky Pager.
Oh no, that's my joint, man.
I like Sky Pager too.
I skipped that
Especially
one.
that breakdown.
I mean, it's not whack. It's not whack.
Yeah.
I usually skip that one.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't think there's a skippable. I don't think I skip any tracks on.
You can't skip on either one of them.
On their first 4 albums, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe Love Movement. I thought Love Movement was underrated, but anyway.
Yeah, it is underrated.
It is underrated. Yeah, that definitely underrated. Yeah.
And I gotta say, although it's not their best album, I think the Tribe album I listen to the most now in 2023 is Beats, Rhymes, and Life.
Oh, that's hella underrated.
I keep going back to that too.
I liked it when it was new.
Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah,
I think that's a fantastic album.
You had the Dark Dilla production.
Yeah.
You know, it was very stripped back. So it just emphasized more on what they were saying.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great album. It's subtle. I feel like it's subtle dopeness. You know, some of those beats on Low End Theory, especially Midnight Marauders, they got the booming horns and like as soon as it comes on, it's like, oh, this is a dope joint. But on Beats, Rhymes, and Life, I feel like it's a slow burn. It's like everything's dope, but it's more subtle, you know?
They just instantly come in with the drums and your head just starts nodding. You're like, okay, where's the rest of the beat? Nah, this is the beat.
This is it.
Their vocals are the instruments that are filling out the beat. This is it.
Right.
Yes. I love it. Dirty Needles, any plans to release your album Happy Accident on vinyl, CD, tape, 8-track, anything along those lines?
Yes, I am looking into a limited print run of CD for Happy Accident. You know, I put some fillers out there and apparently people want it, so I'll do it. As far as vinyl, and some folks have been pushing for it, if I can find an option to where it's economically feasible, I'll do so.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, there are no plans for a vinyl release. Now that could change.
Expensive. Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Right now, CD definitely.
So all of our big ballers out there, go ahead and finance it. Just, you know, drop the money, make it happen, you know, make that happen. So, well, listen, man, this is a hip hop show. We always conclude with shout outs. So I'll throw it to iomos first. I'll give some, and then we'll throw it over to you for the final shout out. Sound good?
Sounds great.
No doubt.
All right. iomos, man, who you want to shout out tonight?
Yo, man, definitely home team, man. Shout out Pro Stowe. Man, definitely Stowe, man. Always giving gems for artists to like improve. You know what I'm saying? Their marketing, their branding. So yo, definitely shout out to Stowe. Shout out to Joe, Beau, and of course you, Till. And shout out to Pro who couldn't be here tonight. You know what I'm saying? We miss you, Pro. Hope everything, you know, you having a good time spending with your son. And Yeah, man, that's it for me, man. Shout out to hip hop, and definitely shout out to you, Dirty Needles, for taking the time to come through, man. We appreciate you, bro. Keep doing your music, man. Keep doing your craft, and I'm glad you didn't stop after you really. That's inspiring to me. That even though the one album that you put out, it only two people purchased it. I'm glad that didn't hinder you or stop you from creating. So keep doing what you're doing, bro. For real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt. No doubt. Thanks, iomos.
no doubt.
Yeah, shout out to the crew for sure. Shout out to Joe November for helping us proofread this sucker, man. It took us forever to proofread, not forever, but it is a long task to proofread a book. So shout out to Joe. Make sure you get this, boombapreview.com, or just go on to Amazon and search it, get the book. Also, shout out to Ohio Hip Hop. Shout out to Mood. Brandon, my man Brandon Isaac, doing some dope things. High Tech, one of the greatest producers of all time. Shout out to our guests in 2 weeks. It's just December is, I guess, is Ohio Artist Month on the Boom Bap Chat, because in 2 weeks we got Kaz Meta, a dope MC here in Ohio, who recently teamed up with the legendary Jay Rawls for
Nice.
a dope album. So Kaz Meta and Jay Rawls will be coming back to the Boom Bap Chat in 2 weeks. So make sure y'all come back and check out that conversation. Check out their new album. They have a new album out. It's Kaz Meta and Jay Rawls together. So make sure you go find that and give it some spins. It's a really good album as well. So check that out and come back in 2 weeks. And last but not least, my man, Dirty Needles. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, like iomos said, thanks for sticking with it, for continuing to put out music. We look forward to the podcast that you're going to do about the album, and just appreciate your artistry and appreciate you taking some time, to share a little bit about yourself with us, and our audience. So thank you. Shout out to you.
Doubt.
And with that, yeah, you can take it away with the final shout outs.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I would like to shout you guys out for having me on here. Um, I I want to shout out everyone who supported the record. From the Bars Kept crew on IG. Shout out to Dope Girl Cooks. That's the homie. Shout out to Reese Tanaka for providing me with the sonic landscape that I could use the brush of my words to paint upon. Shout out to my dude Collective for putting me in contact with Reese. Without him, none of this is possible. Um, yeah, just shout out to everybody who's been rocking with me, supporting me from day one. Shout out to J Tan, who bought every single Dirty Needles album, single you can think of. Um, yeah, man, that's about it.
Right
Peace,
on.
love, and hell grease.
Hey, that's right. On that note, then we say peace.
Ohio is in the building.
Yes, you know it.